Feel free to follow up with us too. Afterwards, we'll be around mingling. So with that, Daniel, can you tell me a little bit about your background and how you got to Yipit?
So I got to Yipit about 2.5 years ago. And before that, I worked at Bloomberg. I had a couple different roles across being a financial analyst, account management, software engineering, and then product management.
Awesome. And then can you tell us, I mean, I think Yipit's pretty well known, but can you tell us what YipitData does?
So YipitData is an alternative data and research company. So we serve primarily financial institutions like hedge funds, but also corporations, and we provide insights derived from alternative data, which isn't super clear what that might be. So for example, for a hedge fund client, if they have a large position in, let's say, Netflix, they're probably really interested in what Netflix subscriber count is going to be next quarter. And if you have a data set that can speak to an estimate with a reasonable margin of error what that subscriber count might be, that is going to be of value to that fund. For corporations, mostly focusing on the brand and retailer space, we can provide insights like what is the market share of different products that you either are selling as a brand or as a retailer you're allocating shelf space to.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And then can you talk a little bit, I guess, about your role and what being a director of product experience is, and then how you're leveraging the technologies?
Sure. So product experience is like the presentation layer that exists in between all of our data and research and our customers, and we just try to eliminate all the friction between our product and our clients actually getting the answers to the questions that they have, since not all of this data is super easy to work with. And so we are a interdisciplinary team of product managers, UX design, and software engineering that are continuously discovering the usability risks within our product, how our clients are running into pain points and friction, and delivering ways to eliminate that friction.
Awesome. I mean, quite a mouthful, quite a few different things. For that group, what kinds of challenges would you say you run into?
Yeah. So our product primarily was a static research report deliverable. So you could think of, on top of our mountains of data wrangling and cleaning, we would apply the lens of like an equity research analyst on top of the data and put together a static research report with what we believed are the most important insights that our data can speak to, and we send that report to our clients. We have some other flavors of products, but that was really the main product experience. And what we found was there were some data sets that didn't lend themselves to a very good client experience when it's in a static report form. So that type of data set would be, let's say, a data set that had 10,000 different companies inside of it, and each client only cared about a subset of those 10,000. And so what we end up seeing is either a massive static deliverable that can try to answer every question, or tons of client inbounds like, hey, can you make something custom for me? And so that was a pain point that we were running into. Another pain point was higher frequency data. We saw an opportunity to provide our data in more real time, but if you're trying to go that approach and your distribution method is I'm going to send a research report, like just imagine getting research reports, every day. That'd be really high friction. So those were some of the main user experience problems. Then from an efficiency play, we had this really nice data lakehouse and Databricks, and we had all our analyses there. And then at the last mile, instead of delivering the analyses from Databricks, we exported and screenshotted and pasted and sent, and it was lacking a certain element of efficiency and also like data protection. So these are some of the pain points we experienced.
All right. And then, so you've already kind of brought up how you're using Databricks. How have you layered Sigma on top of your data lakehouse to provide those insights to your customers and kind of finish that last mile?
Yes. So what we've done is, let's say, stick with the example of that product, that data set that had 10,000 different companies. We created an experience with Sigma where our end users can log into our portal, experience an embedded version of let's say, the analyses that we would conventionally release in a static research report. And they can enter in one time, these are the companies that matter to me, or these are the sectors that matter to me, and save that filter. And then every time they come back to our portal, they see an experience that is personalized to what they're interested in. And so we get to just maintain this one data set, but our end user experience gets to be personalized in a way in which it was not personalized before. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that context. I want to say Yipit's been a customer of Sigma for going on like a little over a year now, right?
Yeah,
That's about right. Yeah. So then as you've been developing, this embedded experience, what kind of challenges did you face along the way?
Sure.
Whether it be technical, from a user standpoint, and how did you overcome those challenges?
I would say the first challenge was deciding on a vendor to partner with. There's a lot out there. We were looking for something that was very flexible. We didn't want to impose the user experience decisions of a vendor on our customers and expect our customers to empathize with that. Like, hey, it's this way because of the tool we're using. We wanted to like mock the experience of having a front-end development team, which we do, but it's a small team, and we didn't want to build our own front-end framework, as well as design. So we were looking for something very flexible, and that finding that was a challenge. We spent 3 weeks going through a full POC with another vendor, coming out the other side, and then doing that with Sigma, and then ultimately feeling satisfied. So that was probably challenge number one, is finding the right tool for the job. Another challenge was teetering on the line of being a platform team internally as well as an application team. So if you are a platform team and you're motivated to innovate your data stack and acquire this new tool, I think you may not want to assume that the application teams and the product teams that are going to need to use the data stack that you're creating are going to adopt it and apply it successfully to solve the right problems in the right way. And so there was a moment after we bought Sigma that I was like, okay, we're just going to begin using it well, and quickly realized that was not the case. And so basically stopped behaving like a platform team, and we just tightly coupled ourselves with a specific product, increased our domain knowledge to work with this product team, increased our ownership to work with this product team, and behaved as if we were an application team and we were no longer a platform team. We needed to prove that we could apply this platform in a way that is valuable to our company and our customers. After doing that, then we got the buy-in from the rest of the company. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, we want to use this platform too. And now it's a whole other can of worms when each different application team all wants to onboard. It's a whole different set of problems, but it's a good problem to have. So that was a challenge at first.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, great, conversation and depth there. The next question I would have, and I think you kind of touched on this, is from that learning experience that you had, like, how much of that, if someone was trying to replicate that, like, what advice would you give to them to say, okay, make these steps, try to avoid these steps?
Sure. I would say I'll give advice to the platform team, and then I'll give advice to the application team. So my advice for the platform team when trying to implement a data stack like this would be to really try to empathize with the product teams that are going to be constrained and forced to try to create value to the end users within the framework. So an example of a good experience that I think we've arrived at is, like, my team can talk to a customer in the morning, discover that we're missing something in a user experience, go into Databricks, add a column to our source table. It instantly syncs into Sigma, update our dashboards, and then reach back out to the customer that afternoon and see if we're going in the same direction. If we had to insert like one or two forms, requests to our data team to update a schema and then resync it, we wouldn't have been able to move nearly as fast. So I think taking some time to think about when you're setting up this framework, how quickly will your product teams be able to iterate to value would be something I'd advise of the platform teams who are creating the constraints. And then to the product teams, to the application teams, I would say crawl, then walk, then run. These are flexible tools. They're very powerful tools. Doesn't mean you need a lot of features in your user experience, especially to start. I think the teams that I've seen struggle either tried to answer too many questions in their initial user experience or expected too much from their end users where they didn't try to solve a specific problem. They instead threw a lot of tools at their customers and expected their customers to be able to figure out how to use the tools to add value. Our first embedded product was a spreadsheet with filters and the ability to download, because that let our customers essentially query our own cloud data warehouse. They could, without needing to email us and ask for a custom data export. And most of our customers just love using Excel anyway. And so that's where we started. And that helped us, get from 0 to 1, and then you can iterate from there. But crawling and walking and running for the application teams would be my advice.
Yeah, I think it's great advice. Now that you've kind of went through that and you have those learnings, where do you see, I guess, how do you see YipIt continuing to evolve and grow with Databricks and Sigma?
Yeah. So I think, getting to this point, I think one of the main value props, we didn't touch on time to value, but really like the first year has been a time to value sprint and experiment. How many different domains within our product portfolio can we apply this to and find product market fit? So that's what the first year or so looked like. And I think we found about 4 different use cases for this stack. The future, I think it's still going to be rapid experimentation of trying to find even more places to apply this framework, but also trying to go from 1 to 10, which means squeezing every ounce of flexibility out of these tools and just continuing to do deep customer discovery and user research on how we can make it better. I think, like all front-end applications, I think that the most important thing is probably just understanding your end users really, really well and the most important questions they have. And there's lots of ways to answer those questions. Maybe you don't need as robust of a tool as you might think you need. But that's what the next step for us will be is, all right, in the domains where we found that fit, how do we just continue to improve the fidelity of the user experience? Since we got from 0 to 1 with Sigma and Databricks really, really quickly, which was great. But 1 to 10 will have a new set of challenges.
Sounds like you guys are well equipped to handle those. Are there any questions that I should have asked you that I didn't ask you?
Maybe around time to value. I think that's a hot topic for a lot of people, and maybe just how quickly it took us to reach a point of confidence after signing with Sigma.
So let's double click into that.
Sure.
Let's talk a little bit kind of about that development cycle, because I came on and was kind of helping as you guys were still getting staging up and running. What did that process look like? And, how did you work with the teams over at Databricks and Sigma to help iterate on that?
Sure. Yeah, I would say I probably wasn't an easy customer to close. I basically wanted something fully functioning, working in production during our trial. And I think we got to that basically in, I think how long was it? Like a 3-week trial? I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
So at the end of that, we're basically looking at something embedded in our product. And at that point, it was like, all right, let's begin monetizing this thing. And so that was really, really important for us because there were a lot of voices that were skeptical of this, if this was even a real problem to solve, because we've done pretty well with static research reports, right? So we needed to instantly prove that there was a real problem and that there was value to be gained in solving this problem. And so we were able to begin monetizing, I think, weeks after, just a couple of weeks after we signed. And then one kind of unexpected benefit when it comes to time to value, now that we have Sigma, is it unlocks a new way to discover valuable user experiences. So an example of that would be, we're about to launch a new data product and the production data pipeline's not ready, but we know what the schema is going to look like. And so we just go into Databricks, mock some data in that schema, build the front-end user experience on that mock data, and just start iterating, experimenting, showing with customers, changing it when we need to. And for one of the products we launched this year, we basically had a fully validated user experience like 3 weeks before the production data was ready. We'd have customers tell us, this is what's most important to us. These are the key questions we want to answer. Then we'd send them a link to a Sigma dashboard, and we'd ask them, answer the questions you told me you had from this link, and share your screen while you're doing it so I can watch. And just watch them accomplish what they told us they were looking to accomplish, which felt much more rewarding as a product and design team in terms of validating, increasing your confidence that you're actually about to release something that people are going to enjoy. And so that, when it comes to time to value, has helped unlock this like new workflow, this new discovery tool, if you will, that has been fun to use.
All right. I think we're getting close to time here. Any final thoughts before we turn it over for questions?
Oh, yeah,
All right.
that's it.
Does anyone have any questions here for Daniel? Would like to learn more, about what Yipit did and how you might be able to implement this within your own company? All right, easy crowd. We'll be around. Definitely come. Feel free to talk to. Oh, sorry. Oh, here, let me hand this to you.
Yeah, so you had mentioned at one point you had some kind of, let's say, a dashboard or whatever from Sigma, and then you realized your customer or end user needed some additional information, and you went and added this column and whatever. So how easy is that? Like, how accessible is that for, customization, and what kind of people can actually do this, in terms of skill sets?
Yeah, great question. So I think the answer to that question is a consequence of a lot of things, both within the Sigma world and also the Databricks world. We've spent a lot of time removing our infrastructure teams and our data engineers from the product development bottleneck completely. And so from a function of the Databricks permissions that have been granted to a team like mine, which is PMs, designers, and front-end developers, we were able to just write directly to a table that is being read into production, or could be read into production. It's not as unsafe as I just made it sound. There are some checks, and so we were just totally free to do that on our own. And then I think through the magic of Unity catalog, it just shows up in the Sigma interface. And so I think in some prior tools or before we had that working, it was like, I made a change in my backend. But I don't see
A better way we did. Yeah.
I made a change in my backend table, but I don't see it in Sigma, so I can't change my front end. That problem went away with the Unity catalog migration. And so to answer your question, designers, analysts, product people, if you know how to write SQL, if you set your permissions to empower them to be able to make changes like this, you absolutely can.
So I don't know all your use cases, but are there situations where you kind of go, not have a dashboard, but go directly to operational action autonomously, or you always go through a dashboard? And is there opportunity to added value to kind of drive operational behavior and get the human out of the loop.
Interesting. I don't think so from my business. Yeah, for our customers, I don't think we are offering functionality that just takes action. I will say a step in that direction that Sigma has unlocked versus our static reports is we did a lot of discovery on our customers who are downloading our data. We'd ask, what are you doing with our data after you download it? And we found that a lot of them were building basically the same type of model in Excel. And so they'd get our reports, they'd download a data file, and they'd plug it into this model. Now, with Sigma, what we did was, instead of just providing data, we built the model in Sigma and embedded it. And so now when an end user lands on our page, they see the metric that they're looking for, and then there's a pre-built model that has parameters that they can enter in. So this is not taking action for the user, but it's eliminating a couple steps for them. And so now they'll plug in a growth rate, change a parameter, see the output of the model that they were spending time building in Excel on their own. And if they want to just download it for whatever reason and make some more nuanced adjustments to that model, they absolutely can. So that's just an example of like getting closer to action, not necessarily going so far as taking action for my clients though.
Oh, all right, one more, and then I think we're going to cut it off.
So of course, with business, we want to talk about what kind of return value you get from doing this type of change from a very manual to a much less manual process. Can you talk about your ROI with making this update, this kind of foundational change?
Sure. So I think the ROI, it's a function of how much better is the user experience you're getting to your clients, what is the incremental value that you're creating, and also how much more efficient are you making, is your internal process. So I think value-wise, we have clear benefits, some of which I articulated: the ability to personalize information, the ability to receive higher frequency information, the ability to combine calculations instead of just data to eliminate steps in our client's workflow. Efficiency-wise, though, this is all just sitting on top of our data lakehouse. So to publish this data, it is update this table. And so our publishing workflow, which we still maintain a large outbound workflow of creating these research reports, but for a certain subset of our product, and we're looking to grow this flavor of product, it's just write to this table. And then it notifies all the clients who subscribe to that data set. And the next time they go to the portal, it's reading directly from the cloud data warehouse. So as soon as it updates, the next time they go there, it'll show. And so the efficiency gain of that type of publishing, coming from we are going to pre-build all these charts and export them all and put them into a document and then send them all, is night and day. So that flavor of product, which we're ramping up launching now, we've been able to launch significantly faster than our other products, and definitely have a much higher ROI on them.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Daniel. Really appreciate you, getting up here and talking in front of all these people about your use case, and would love to learn more about this and work with you further. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.